Good afternoon. I'm really delighted to be here this morning to introduce you to our keynote speaker, Guy Kawasaki, former chief evangelist at Apple and best-selling New York Times author. Many of you know that Laserfiche pioneered the document management industry, back in the 1980s. And similar to Nailing Wacker founding Laserfiche, Guy was there at Apple with Steve Jobs when a Macintosh was born. How many of you saw with wonderment Apple's $1.5 commercial that launched at the Super Bowl in 1984? I remember seeing it when I was a little kid. And for those of you who weren't among the 80 million people across the world to watch it, the commercial was called 1984. It was a watershed moment in the history of personal computing and advertising. And through those early years at Apple, Guy was there as Apple's software evangelist. Now today, Apple is the most valuable company in the world with a market cap of $1.4 trillion. $1.4 trillion. Can you imagine that? Guy, I hope you held on to some of that Apple stock. Once the Mac took off, Guy left Apple. He is now the chief evangelist for Canva. He's the brand ambassador for Mercedes-Benz. He's also a podcaster. And as many of you know, Guy is a prolific author of 15 books, including his recent book, Wise Guy. We're delighted to have Guy join us here today to share with all of you how he has helped disrupt established industries. He will provide practical techniques to truly go beyond digital transformation and drive innovation in your digital business and create value in your personal life. So, for the moment we've all been waiting for, please give a warm welcome to Guy Kawasaki.
It's afternoon. Good afternoon. So thank you very much for being such a nice audience. I'm going to talk to you today about empowerment and innovation and everything I learned in Silicon Valley and Apple. Thomas opened up a deep wound in me because I have 4 shares of Apple right now. I'll show you. Oh, God. That's not that. I want to show you this picture. So this is a picture of the Macintosh vision in 1984. And I'm standing in that upper corner there in the circle. And so Thomas alluded to the fact that Apple's now a $1.4 trillion company. Trust me when I tell you, nobody in this picture ever thought that that was ever possible. And I have kind of 4 regrets about my career at Apple. So number 1 is standing in the back of this picture. Number 2 is I quit Apple in 1987. Number 3 is I quit Apple again in 1997. And number 4 is Steve offered me another job after that, and I blew him off and didn't accept it. And so if I had not done any of those 4 things, well, I might not be here today. So that would be a bummer because I would not meet many of you. This is the Macintosh division, 1984. And the most important person, I think, in this picture is, of course, Steve Jobs. One of the most significant aspects of this photo is this is the only known instance of Steve Jobs ever getting down on his knees for anybody. So you should enjoy this moment. Everything you've heard about Steve and Apple is kind of true. Every movie, every book, everything. And whenever people find out that I work for Macintosh and Steve, they always want a Steve Jobs story. So I'll fulfill my moral obligation. So one day I'm sitting in my cube and Steve shows up with someone I had never met before. And he asked me about a company. The company was called Knoware, K-N-O-W-A-R-E. It was an educational software company, knowledge software, truncated to Knoware. And Steve says, so what do you think of this company called Knoware? I said, well, Steve, it's a mediocre company with mediocre products, drill and practice arithmetic, 2 + 2 = 4, doesn't take advantage of the Macintosh graphical user interface, doesn't take advantage of the WYSIWYG, all that kind of cool stuff. Bozo product, bozo company, not important for us. And then he says, I want you to meet the CEO of nowhere. Yeah, so welcome to my life. It was like that. You had to prove yourself every day. It was, many of you have probably learned about HR and motivation techniques, about positivity and positive psychology and reaching mutually acceptable goals and all that focus on positive stuff. Steve Jobs did none of that. Steve Jobs ruled by fear. And I say that with a great deal of affection for that. He drove me to do the best work of my career. He drove everybody in this picture to do the best work of their career. And so, contrary to what you may have learned in your HR seminars, fear is a great motivator. I would not trade these days for any day in my life. This is like getting paid to go to Disneyland. It was a fantastic, fantastic experience. And I learned so much about innovation at Apple. Subsequently, I've been a venture capitalist. I've been an entrepreneur. I'm currently chief evangelist of a company called Canva out of Sydney, Australia. Canva's in the online graphics design service. We make about 4 to 5 million images every day. People use Canva to make 4 to 5 million images every day. So I started my career at Apple. I'm ending my career at Canva. And the intermittent 30 years, I kind of thrashed around, but I'm going to declare victory regardless. So that's my checkered past, and I'd like to bring in the lessons that I've learned in my life about innovation so that you can use it. The theme of this conference is about empowerment, and I have to tell you, it's very, very similar to what we were trying to do in the Macintosh division. And one of the first lessons that I learned about great innovation is that great innovation occurs when people and companies want to make meaning as opposed to simply making money. The lesson that I learned is that if you make meaning, you will probably also make money. But if you start off with the sole purpose of making money, you will attract the wrong kind of people and fail at making money and meaning. Some examples of companies and the meaning that they make. Apple, increasing people's creativity and productivity. Google, democratizing information. Canva, the company I'm working for now, is trying to democratize design, where everybody can create great design. Google, everybody can access information. Apple, everybody can be productive and creative. So the first lesson in innovation is to step back from simply making money and ask yourself, how are you denting the universe? How are you making people's lives better? Because that is the foundation of great innovation. Step 2 is to jump to the next curve. This is a metaphor for how you should think of innovation, because I don't think innovation occurs duking it out on the same curve, to doing things slightly better, cheaper, or faster. I like to use the example of ice. There used to be an ice harvesting industry, Ice 1.0, late 1800s. People would go out to frozen lakes and ponds, their horse, their cart, their wagon, their saw, cut a frozen lake, cut a frozen pond, sell frozen pieces of ice. They harvested ice. 9 million pounds of ice was harvested in 1900. This was much more convenient for their customers. Now, they could store food in a more clean and convenient way. About 30 or 40 years go by, we have Ice 2.0. Ice 2.0 is the ice factory. Think about the advantage between harvesting and factory. Harvesting has to be winter, has to be a cold city. Factory, any time of year, any city. That is a major technological breakthrough. So a factory was not a slightly better harvester. The factory was on the next curve, and then the next curve beyond that is refrigerator. So now with the refrigerator, you had your own ice factory. You had a PC, if you will, a personal chiller. And this personal chiller was much better than an ice factory. You didn't have to live close to the ice factory. You didn't have to have the iceman deliver ice to your house. You could make your own ice. And I think great innovation occurs when you jump from one curve to the next, not to do something better on the same curve. In the case of this conference and your host, I would make the case that we started in this paper world. Then we went to an email world with digitized attachments. And then we went to an automated world, but automated via the IT department. And now, this curve, we're on this automated world, this artificial intelligence world with no code or low code. So we're going from paper to email and digitization to automation with IT, and then automation empowered end users. That's the kind of curve jump. That's the kind of expectation you should have for great innovation. In the business that I'm in, Canva, design started on paper. Pretty soon that design on paper was digitized and sent via email. The next step, of course, was powerful tools like Photoshop and Illustrator, but they were done by professional designers. If you wanted something designed, you had to wait in line for the Photoshop guru or the Illustrator guru or the graphic design department to do it. And now on this curve, it's the empowered end user. Anybody can create great graphics with Canva. Just like you can address your automation and your data and your content needs by yourself. It is about jumping to the next curve. It's not about duking it out on the same curve. The next step is, what I learned, is to eat your own cows. And I realize this is a kind of a tricky thing to say, because you're not supposed to eat meat anymore because of climate change. But the way I mean it is, every company has cash cows. And these cows often become sacred. Let me give you a great illustration. This is an engineer at Kodak. It's 1975. The thing on the desk before him is the first digital camera ever made. Wrap your mind around this. Kodak invented the digital camera. How many of you are using a Kodak digital camera today? Can you imagine the meeting where this engineer went to his boss and said, I have figured out a way so that people don't have to buy film. That is what we say is a career-limiting move. The lesson here is that you have to understand truly what business you're in. What benefits do you provide? Here is what I call the slide of death. You never want to be on a slide like this. I think that Kodak defined its business as chemicals. Chemicals on paper, chemicals on film. You expose the film to light, you expose the film to more chemicals, you produce slides and prints. Polaroid, also in the chemicals business, maybe more instantly, but still in the chemicals business. I would make the case that Kodak and Polaroid were not in the chemicals business. They were in the preservation of memories business. And if you're in the preservation of memories business, it does not matter whether it's chemical-based or digital sensor-based. The lesson is that if you don't get to the next curve because you realize what you're producing for your customers, you will die. Wang was in the dedicated word processor business. Smith Corona made typewriters. If you define yourself as being in the typewriter business, guess what? You don't embrace computers. You don't embrace smartphones and tablets. If you decide that you're the dedicated word processor company as opposed to the communication and information business, you create a word processor and you die as general purpose computers take over the word processing function. You never want to be on this slide. The companies on this slide did not realize truly what business they're in. Preservation of memories, dissemination of information. eat your cows. Kodak and Polaroid should have used their chemicals business to fund their digital camera business. Number four, there is a great song called Don't Worry, Be Happy. But what I learned about innovation is you have to don't worry, be crappy. So this is a Macintosh 128K. It was $2,500 in 1984. It had 128K of memory. And I kid you not, we thought 128K of memory is an ocean of memory. My God, what were people going to do with 128K of RAM? 3 times what an Apple II had. It had a 400K floppy drive. My God, what would people do with 400K floppy drives? And secretly, we were working on a 5 megabyte hard disk. Megabyte hard disk. Roughly half of what one font is today. And I swear, we used to sit around in Cupertino, wearing our Birkenstocks, drinking white wine, smoking marijuana, saying to each other, what are people going to do with 5 megabytes of memory? My God, what are they going to do with so much storage? I learned a very valuable lesson back then. If we had waited for chips to be fast enough, displays to be flat and high resolution enough, for networking to be fast enough, for all the good stuff that has happened to computing, we would have never shipped. I am not saying ship crap. I'm saying when you have jumped curves, ship it. Ship it. The first laser printer was a piece of crap, right? $7,000, single-sided, 8.5 by 11 only, slow, Apple Talk network. A piece of crap, but it was a revolutionary piece of crap. It was better than the best dot matrix or the best letter quality printer. It was okay to ship. I hope none of you are in the biotech business, but generally speaking, don't worry, be crappy. The way it works in technology is you ship and then you test. And I'm from Silicon Valley. I'll tell you how venture capital works in a nutshell. Venture capital works this way. You throw a lot of things up against the wall. A small number of them stick to the wall. You go up to the wall. You paint a bullseye around what's stuck, and you say, I hit the bullseye. That's how it works. Don't worry, be crappy. Number 5. Number 5 is my recommendation that it is so hard to find great employees who can help you innovate and dent the universe. You should only focus on merit. Everything else does not matter. The reason this picture is up there is because this is a picture that illustrates about half of the direct reports of Steve Jobs in the mid-'80s. The woman on the left is the moderator, Katie Hafner from the New York Times. The woman next to her is Joanna Hoffman. She was in charge of marketing of the Mac division. If you saw the Steve Jobs movie, Kate Winslet played her character. Woman in the middle, Debbie Coleman, ran the factory. Next woman, Green, Susan Barnes. Next woman, Barbara Kochen, product marketing. Next woman, Andy Cunningham, PR. In the 80s, half of Steve Jobs' direct reports were women. He was way ahead of his time. You hear about how he was an asshole and he was arrogant and all that bad stuff. Steve Jobs did not care about your gender, your sexual orientation, your religion, your skin color, your background educationally. All he cared about was either you were great or crap. That was it. And that's the way it should be. I'll tell you a little story about Steve Jobs and the woman in green. Before Macintosh shipped, we had to select a floppy disk vendor. Steve Jobs and the woman in green went to Sony in Japan to negotiate for the Sony disk drive that ended up in the Macintosh. The executives at Sony told Steve they would not negotiate with a woman. And Steve told Sony, if you don't negotiate with Susan Barnes, you will not have our business. So get over it. And that's why there's a floppy drive made by Sony in the first Macintosh. Focus on merit. It is so hard to get great people. Don't make it harder on yourself by caring about gender, sexual orientation, religion, skin color, and educational background. Focus on merit. Number six. Number six is the willingness to polarize people. The willingness to polarize people, that means that great innovation will polarize people. Some people will hate it, some people will love it. Some people love Macintosh, some people hate Macintosh. Some people love Android, hate Android. Love iOS, hate iOS. Love AI, hate AI. Love artificial intelligence, hate artificial intelligence. AR, VR, all that good stuff. Blockchain, cybersecurity, all that stuff. Some people hate it, some people love it. It's okay. The worst case is you're not on the radar and people don't care. This is a picture of a TiVo. TiVo was the first way you could time shift television programs. People like me who travel a lot, we love TiVo because I could save the programs that I wanted to watch and watch them later and skip through commercials. There are people who hated TiVo, large brands and their agencies, because large brands and their agencies spent millions of dollars making ads and placing them so that people with TiVos like me could skip through them. Some people hated TiVo. Some people love TiVo. I'm not saying you should intentionally sort of get up in the morning saying, how can I piss people off today? But you should get up in the morning trying to create something so great, understanding that some people will love it, some people will hate it. That's okay. Worst case, again, people don't care. Don't be afraid of polarizing people. Number seven. Number seven is that I think many people think that the act of changing your mind is a sign of weakness or stupidity. And I would make the case that it's quite the contrary. It's an act of strength and bravery and intelligence. When the iPhone was first announced in 2007, Steve Jobs said this: our innovative approach using Web 2.0 based standards lets developers create amazing new applications while keeping the iPhone secure and reliable. Let me translate this for you. He's saying iPhone is closed. The only way you can add functionality, Safari plugins. iPhone is closed, 2007. 2008, Apple executives to showcase Mac OS X Leopard and OS X iPhone development platforms at WWDC. A year later, Apple is saying, we're opening up the iPhone. You can write any kind of application that you want. The rest is history. If iPhone were closed, it would have died, because there's no way that a company, the provider of the platform, can possibly provide the millions of kinds of apps that people want. Some people would have said, oh, look how stupid Apple is. They closed the phone and then they opened it. They are clueless. They don't know what they're doing. I would make the case that Steve realized he made a mistake. He went from closed to open, and the rest is history. Don't be afraid of changing your mind. Number eight. Number eight is not about politics or drugs. Number eight is about positioning. I think this one slide is the key to success in life, in innovation, entrepreneurship, marriage, you name it. This is it. This is the magic slide. Vertical axis measures the degree of uniqueness or differentiation. Horizontal axis measures value. If you're in the far right and low, it means that you are high value but not unique. This is where you're Michael Dell. You slap the same Windows operating system on the same hardware. Valuable, you create a computer, but it's not unique. You have to compete on price. In the upper left corner, you have something that's truly unique. Only you do it, but it is of no value. In that corner, you are just plain stupid. In the bottom left corner, you are stupid, and there are many stupid people with you. In this corner, you have created something that's not unique and not valuable, like buying dog food online 15 years ago, right? So it was an interesting concept. Buy dog food online. It's cheaper because we've disintermediated the brick and mortar store. Dog food is cheaper that way. But then you have to add back shipping and handling. So at the bottom line, it wasn't that much cheaper. And then somebody had to be at home when UPS dropped off the dead cow in the can. So it was less convenient, just as expensive. But then people like me in Silicon Valley, venture capitalists, we fell for this pitch. And so there was Pets.com, MyPets.com, ePets.com, SafewayPets.com, PeapodPets.com. There are 10 ways to buy dead cows in cans. The pitch was, and I ask you to never, ever use this kind of pitch if you ever try to raise money. 300 million Americans. 1 in 4 owns a dog. 75 million dogs. Each dog eats 2 cans of dog food per day. Oh my God. 75 million times 2 is 150 million cans of dog food per day consumed. With my rock star co-founder, how hard could it be to get a conservative, mere 1% of that market? That is 1.5 million cans of dog food per day. And dogs, that's not a boring B2B business where the weekends are off. Dogs eat every day of the year. It is B2C, or more accurately, B2D. So dogs eat 150 million cans of dog food per day. 1% is 1.5 million times 365. Worst case scenario, 500, 600, 700 million cans of dog food per year. My God. Call Goldman Sachs, file for the IPO. That's why there were so many ways to buy dog food online. The corner that you want to be in as an individual, as a company, as a product, as a service, is this corner. Think of the iPod when it first came out. Truly unique and valuable. It had a UI that mere mortals could operate. It was the only game in town that you could buy a wide selection of music, easily get it, legally get it, and inexpensively, 99 cents per song get it. It was unique and valuable. And I believe all of innovation comes down to this 2x2 matrix. If you're an engineer, you have to make something that is unique and valuable. If you're a marketeer, you have to convince the world that what you have is unique and valuable. This is the holy grail of innovation. Number 9, stolen from Chairman Mao, who said, "Let 100 flowers blossom." Although I don't think he ever did this. Let 100 flowers blossom means at the start of innovation, you take your best shot at positioning and branding. Who should use your product, what they should do with it. And then reality hits. And knock on wood, you'll find something that occurs which you did not anticipate, which is, my God, these people who we never anticipated as our customers are using our product, and they're using our product in unintended ways. Now, there's 2 possible reactions at this point. One is, call a timeout. Rent an expensive hotel with a golf course. Take your executives for an off-site and figure out why are the wrong people buying our products in large quantities. The other reaction, which is my reaction, is hallelujah, baby, declare victory. So with Apple, we thought we had a spreadsheet, database, and word processing machine. 0 for 3. 0 for 3. Luckily, we had a product that appealed to graphic designers and publishers. It's called PageMaker. PageMaker saved Apple. We thought we had spreadsheet, database, word processing machine. The market told us we had a desktop publishing machine. No desktop publishing, no Apple. Apple would have died. I think that PageMaker was God's gift to Apple. It saved Apple. And I believe in God, and one of the reasons why I believe in God is there is no other explanation for Apple's continued success than the existence of God. So again, we thought we had spreadsheet, database, and word processing machine. The market says you have desktop publishing machine. Hallelujah. We intended Macintosh to be a desktop publishing machine. That was our passion and our vision. Desktop publishing stuck to the wall. We painted the bullseye around it. We hit the bullseye. Let 100 flowers blossom. Ship it, see where it takes root, Fertilize it, water it, milk it. Declare victory. Let 100 flowers blossom. Do not be proud. Number 10. Number 10 is a hard lesson to learn. Number 10 is that a revolution, innovation, is not an event. It's not January 24th, 1984. We shipped Macintosh. Declare victory. Innovation is a process. Think of 1984 to the shipment of the iMac Pro. Yeah, it's like 30 years. I had no idea. I thought we declare victory in 1984. It took 20 or 30 years to declare victory, to actually achieve that. Churn, baby, churn. It means you start with a Mac 128K, Macintosh SC, Macintosh Plus, Macintosh 2, MacBook, MacBook Air, iMac. It keep on going. This is one of the hardest things to learn, is to understand that innovation is a process. It is not an event. Number 11 is to learn to ignore naysayers. As an innovator, you will encounter naysaying. There's two kinds of naysayers. One is by a loser, slovenly, disgusting, pocket protector, Japanese watch, rusty car. You look at this person and you say, you are a loser. That's not the dangerous bozo, because only a bozo listens to a bozo. The dangerous bozo is the bozo dressed in all black, right? Owns a lot of things that end in I. Lamborghini, Maserati, Ferrari, Armani. This bozo, you think rich and famous must parse to smart. So, rich and famous bozo tells me can't be done, shouldn't be done. I should listen to that person and not do it. I'm trying to tell you, you need to learn to ignore that kind of bozo. That's the dangerous bozo, because you might think, oh, this person knows what he's talking about. He says it can't be done. She says it can't be done. I should give up. Don't give up. I think that bozosity is like the flu. How do you fight the flu? You get a shot. You get a little bit of flu, so when you encounter big flu, you've already built up the resistance. Right now, I'm going to inoculate you from bozosity. I think there's a world market for maybe 5 computers. Thomas Watson, chairman of IBM, said this in 1943. I have 5 Macintoshes in my house. I have all the computers he anticipated in the world in my house today. This telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered as a means of communication. The device is inherently of no value to us. Western Union, internal memo, 1876. How many of you have used Western Union lately? Yeah, same number of people who've used a Kodak or Polaroid digital camera. We're seeing a pattern here. You know, maybe Western Union thought, oh, you know, the secret, the innovation is telegraphs. And we're going to broaden our market by teaching Americans the Morse code. How hard could that be? And then as Americans get more mobile, we're going to have telegraphs with long bales of wire. And they can string that wire behind their wagons and carts as they get more mobile. This telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered as a means of communication. There's no reason why anyone would want a computer in their home. Ken Olsen, founder of DEC. He was a great entrepreneur, great innovator. This is the height of dangerous bozosity. Imagine if you were Steve or Woz, 1976. People are telling you to grow Apple, to make Apple successful, you need some adult supervision, someone who's been there and done that, built a hardware company, someone like Ken Olsen from DEC. It's such a natural progression of thought. So you meet Ken Olsen, you find him in an elevator in Las Vegas at CES or Comdex, and you say, Mr. Olsen, we have a different vision for computing. We think computers should be small and cheap and easy to use, decentralized, not computers as terminals hooked up to a network. Decentralized, small, cheap, easy to use. So small, so cheap, so easy to use, Mr. Olsen. You could have a computer in your house, Mr. Olsen. And Mr. Olsen says, son, there is no reason why anyone would want a computer in their home. If they want to do things like balance their checkbook, they will get back in their wagons, go back to their office, and use DEC running on a mini computer. What's the problem? So before you ruin your life, learn COBOL and come work for DEC. And there would be no Apple, the height of dangerous bozosity, right? Wouldn't Ken Olsen have been a natural advisor for Apple? Don't let the bozos grind you down. I wish I could tell you whenever bozos say you'll fail, it means you'll succeed. That's not true either. But if you listen to bozos and you don't try, you will never know, and that's the worst outcome of all. I have 2 more slides. And I realize I'm running late. But what are you going to do? Not invite me back next year? So, slide number 1. Slide number 1. I'm an evangelist. What can I say? So I just started a podcast. And what I want you to do is I want you to subscribe to my podcast. It is called Remarkable People. And if you want to learn about innovation and denting the universe, I have interviewed people like Jane Goodall, Margaret Atwood, Steve Wozniak, Steve Wolfram, Andrew Yang, Sean Thompson, Leon Panetta. I've interviewed some remarkable people about how they became remarkable. And what I want you to do is take out your iPhone, open up your camera. Don't take a picture. Just put your camera on that QR code, and the QR code will lead you to something that says, would you like to subscribe? So please do that, because I need subscribers. I want subscribers. This is like listen, an opportunity to get 3,000 subscribers? I mean, be still my heart. So do that, okay? And if it doesn't work, to put it on that QR code, it's remarkablepeople.com. Okay, end of commercial. You all did this, right? Yeah? I'm going to look at the analytics. I'm going to use AI with automation of data. No code, low code. I'm going to see what you did. This is my last slide. My last slide is the last lesson of the day. The last lesson of the day was when it comes to innovation, when it comes to denting the universe and changing the world and going from paper to email to automation with IT to automation empowered by end users. This is the operative statement. Most of the time you hear it in the opposite way. If you see it, you'll believe it. It's not how it works in what we're trying to do here. The way it works is if you want to see something, you have to believe it first. Some things need to be believed to be seen. If you believe in Macintosh and write software before there's millions of Macintoshes, then you can help there become millions of Macintoshes. Same thing with iOS, same thing with Android. So the way it works with innovation and technology is you have to believe it in order to see it. If you want this world of AI and automation and efficiency and content management optimized to your organizations and your clients' organizations, you're going to have to believe in companies like Laserfiche in order to see it. Some things need to be believed to be seen. And that is the art of innovation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.